Welcome to the Self-Love Model. On this podcast, we have open-hearted and honest conversations about all things self-love and the journey of self-discovery. This podcast is for those on an everlasting journey of their own evolution, and most importantly, a safe space for us to heal together. I'm your host, Sid, and welcome to your self-love session. Welcome back to another episode of the Self-Love Model. Today, we have a very special episode because we have a very special guest. She's a former NFL cheerleader, confidence and visibility coach, dance leader, and honestly, one of the most embodied women I know. Around Kansas City, many know her as the dance preacher. From leading her high-energy WERQ cardio dance classes every Wednesday to coaching competitive dancers, to helping women step into their confidence and visibility, she is the definition of bold, magnetic, and feminine energy. She's confident, powerful, expressive, and unapologetically herself. And I just know this conversation is going to inspire so many of you to move differently, show up differently, and maybe even finally let yourself be seen. And since the moment I met her, I just knew I had to work with her in some capacity. So please welcome this absolute queen herself, Tara J.
Hello, hello. Really good to be here. I'm just feeling really blessed and really grateful just for this moment, this opportunity and time. And, let's just see where this journey takes us today.
Exactly.
Yes.
Have you ever been on a podcast before?
No, this is my first podcast.
Time?
Yes, I've done interviews, and I've done emceeing, I've done speaking, I've done a lot of those different things, but an actual podcast, this is the first. So write that in the book.
Yes,
the memory
check that
book.
off
Yes,
the bucket list.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. I was, stalking your Instagram a little bit. I got to do my research as a podcaster.
Yes.
In a way, I'm like a journalist as well.
Right. Exactly.
But I saw you were also on the TV. A KC TV?
Yeah. KCTV5. Yeah. Because I'm an instructor at Dance Fit Flow, which is a big part of my journey. I'm sure we'll probably dive a little bit deeper into that. And was invited to just be a part of that wonderful experience for, International Dance Day. And so myself and another colleague went on there. Her name was Mallory. She's wonderful also. And we, basically represented Dance Fit Flow and kind of just talked about the studio, who can come to the studio, upcoming events, and those sort of things. So that was my little bit of 10-minute, live TV time with KCTV5.
Yeah. Was that nerve-wracking, or was it did it feel pretty natural doing
it? It actually really did feel really natural, and it was quick. It was really, really quick. I think that was probably really surprising because you just don't know how live, things work behind the scenes. So it's literally we came in, they kind of explained some things to us, mic'd us up, and then we were on the show, and then it was done. I was like, oh my God, I blinked my eye.
Right. Yeah.
But it all went over very well,
Good.
So you didn't have time to get nervous. It's it just got to be done,
Right.
So,
Well, hopefully today is just as seamless as that experience for you.
Absolutely.
Although it will definitely be a lot longer than a 10-minute.
Yes. I'm here for it though.
Conversation. You know me. I like to get past beyond the surface level and really get to know a person. And since our last meeting, our coffee date that we had, where I first proposed this idea to you, I really got to know you. I got to know you a little bit more, but I also kind of held myself back because I didn't want to know too much yet.
I don't want to know everything in that moment.
Exactly. I wanted to save it for the episode, for this to feel really organic.
Exactly.
And before we really get started with everything, I want to kind of share with the listeners how we even first became connected.
Yeah.
And kind of my story of how we got connected. So I remember our first time meeting was at this pop-up event.
Yes.
And you did your WERQ class at the pop-up event. And the event was by What She Said. And I remember they invited me to the event, and it was either I could take your class or there was 2 other classes.
Okay.
There was a Pilates class, a yoga class.
Yeah, 'cause they had a lot of stuff, beautiful stuff happening
Yes,
that day.
yeah. And I remember looking through the schedule and trying to pick which class I wanted to take. And this was last year.
Yeah.
I can't remember what month last year, but it was sometime last year. And one of my goals for last year, or one of my intentions that I set for last year was that I wanted to take more dance classes.
Okay.
Because you don't know this about me, but I am not a dancer. Yes, I am
Really?
not a
Oh my
dancer.
God, the energy you brought in that class would have made me think. That's so crazy, you know.
Thank
But
you.
okay, but let me finish listening to it because I
Yes.
got all kind of things going through my head as you say this right
Yeah.
now. Yes.
So I'm not a dancer. And like growing up, like being able to dance in front of other people was just something that I never thought I could
Mm-hmm.
do. And I remember I always say this story when I was a kid. I tried out for this like dance team at my
Okay.
school. So this was when I lived in Taiwan. So
Okay.
I like grew up, I was born and raised in Taiwan, and I went to school in Taiwan until I was 9 and then moved to America.
Okay.
So when I was still living in Taiwan, we had this like school-wide like dance team tryout thing. And I was like, oh my
Okay.
gosh, like I want to be a part of this
Right. All
dance team.
excited.
Yes, like
Yeah.
me and my
Yeah.
cousins, like we were around the same age and we like tried out. And I didn't make it.
Okay.
My cousin made it,
Oh,
and I
yes.
didn't make
Yes.
it. And I don't know if that was
Right.
what made me have this idea,
Mm-hmm.
but in my head, that's why I feel like I have this like resistance towards
Okay.
dancing. So I
Yeah.
feel like ever since that moment, I just was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not a dancer, you
Yeah.
know? So I
Yeah.
kind of just gave up on that. And then like when I would go out with friends, I felt like I had to get like drunk to be able to even like,
Okay. Yep.
like
I've
move my,
heard that
yes,
before for
like,
some people. I gotta have more in me. Gotta
yeah,
drink a little bit more just to feel loose,
right.
I guess,
And
and comfortable enough.
yeah, and
Uh-huh.
I always admire people who could just be out in public and
Yes.
just dance because it's just such like a form like a form of expression,
Yes.
like dance,
Absolutely.
and it
Absolutely.
like when you watch someone dance, they just look so free and
Mm-hmm.
connected to themselves,
Mm-hmm.
So I've just always admired like the art of dancing.
Mm-hmm.
So now as an adult, that was something that I wanted to work on. I wanted
Okay.
to like reconnect with my body and reconnect with that love, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like allowing myself to connect with
Yeah.
dance,
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
last year I said one of my intentions was I wanted to take more dance classes.
Mm-hmm.
And after I set that intention, when I saw those classes, I was like, well, there's a dance
Right
class.
there it is.
I don't know what this
Right in front
is,
of you.
but I'm going to
Yes.
take it.
Yes.
So that's why I decided to take that class. And I remember just not knowing what to expect, going into that room, and then just instantly, like your energy, like I
Mm-hmm.
was very impacted by it. And, when I went into it, I was by myself, but I'm also like at this point in my life now where I'm fine doing things alone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't let fear hold me back from doing
Mm-hmm.
things, even though like I could be scared. I'm not gonna show up with that energy.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
why
I
you
may
were
be
like,
feeling that, but
yes,
it's not going to be the energy that you see on the outside that I'm exuding. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So that's why, like, when you said you couldn't even tell,
Yeah.
that's because, like I was like, like I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna have fun, like because
Yeah.
that's what matters at the end of the day. So that
Right.
was like the energy of how I approached your class was that I'm just gonna have fun and
Yeah.
see where it
Yeah.
goes, no expectations, and yeah, and I remember you, like, talking about that during class too, because we,
Mm-hmm.
like, took a little break and you were, like, talking about how no one's, like, watching. Everyone's
Yeah.
focused on
They're
themselves.
so and the instructor. Like that's the crazy thing. Like in classes, they're so focused on the instructor, but like
Yes.
you coming in feels like everybody looking at Cindy. So then you get in your own mind, your own body, and it's like, honey, nobody is watching. They are trying to figure out what is this instructor. And I'm generally speaking when I say that, what is the instructor doing? It's kind of the thing. So it's really interesting to hear you say that because when you talk about coming into the class with this energy, like I felt that energy of like, I'm just going to go for it. Like I felt that from you.
Mm.
And so it's really interesting to also hear on the other side, you say, maybe there was some resistance or maybe a little bit worry, or just some of those things maybe from childhood kind of resurfacing for you. But that's not the energy that I felt. But I also like to make sure I am intentional with my energy. Um, Intentional in the sense of just knowing that I know I'm a big energy. Like I know that anywhere I go, it could be at the grocery store, it could be at the gas station, it can be, just picking up something from somewhere. Like I know that I just have this very natural big energy about myself.
Mhm.
And I'm learning that it's really my gift and to really just make sure I'm in that, especially when I'm in a space where I can impact lives,
Mm.
really just showing up authentically as Tara J in that space with the big energy, with the energy of just, being confident, but yet calm enough where people can feel welcome and they can
Mhm.
feel loved and seen and heard. So I always want to make sure that energy with the big energy is all like in this ball of energy that I'm, in that space with. Because I'm also a firm believer in your vibe attracts your tribe. And so
Yes.
with that, I'm hoping to pull in those people that are like, you know what, I might be a little afraid, but I'm going to go for it because that is what I'm here for. I'm like, yes, let's go for it. Let's get it done. Like, even if it's scary, let's just still do it. We may not get it right. Um, and we're not getting it wrong. We're learning. And that's a different way of
Mhm.
looking at something. Cause I think when you're always like, oh, I did that, but I got that wrong, or that was the wrong class for me, or this was the wrong, and just using those words like it's sending those signals to the brain of like, don't ever do that again. That's not for you. You're not enough, or whatever these negative narratives that we, then start to create in our own mind. But I don't look at it as like it's wrong. It's like you're learning. You're just learning what is and what is
Yeah.
not for you.
Yeah, and I feel
Hmm.
like allowing yourself to be bad at something,
Yeah.
allowing yourself
It's
to
okay.
be a beginner at something,
It's okay.
that is a huge thing with me when
Right.
it comes to dance,
Right.
and I love that. I love that I have something in my life that I'm not the best at,
Yes.
and that like is humbling to me. But I
Hmm.
love that. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it teaches me a lot, Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm definitely someone who struggles with like perfectionism
Yeah.
and feeling like I have to be good at everything. So I'm
Yeah.
like learning, and dance is teaching me a
Mhm.
lot about
Yeah.
that.
I also feel like just as adults, and I don't know when and I don't know how, but at some point we enter this phase where when we don't get it right, especially in front of people, it makes us so self-conscious about self. And whether we register that as a fear or whether we register that as, this is just not the space I want to be in. However, we register that in the brain, we get to a point where it's like, I'm not doing that in front of people because people are going to know that I don't know what
Mhm.
I'm doing. And it makes us back off and it makes us not experience. It makes us not go for it. But if you remember being that kid, it didn't even register in our brain that we didn't know how to do something or that people were watching that we didn't know how to do
Mhm.
something. But at some point we do enter that phase where we're very aware of people do know or don't
Yeah.
know that we know how to do something. I almost feel like it's even worse as adults because our brain has had years of registering that people notice I don't know what's going on. People know that I don't know what I'm doing. People know that I'm afraid, like they can see that. And that
Mhm.
makes us really come into a shell even more, maybe not
Mhm.
to even just try a dance class. If we're just talking about something as, I'm not going to say simple because it's not simple for everybody, but if we're just talking about a dance class, that could be really hard for somebody because they're really concerned that people know that I'm not a dancer. They know that I don't know how to do this. And so you talk yourself out of it. You
Mhm.
won't even, like do it, like at all. But just thinking back to a kid, whoever got on that bike and was able to ride it that very first time. Like if you did, then baby, you was doing some work out there. Okay. Like you got on that bike for the first time with no training wheels and you knew what you were doing. Like I want to know how you did that.
Yes.
But even just going back to the bike example, like we had to get on that bike with training wheels several times and somebody had to be there to like hold us up when we took the training wheels off. And then
Mhm.
eventually when we did start riding it by ourselves, it still was a little scary. Like there were so many different phases that we went through with riding a bike that thing same, thing applies to being an adult going to take a dance class. Like you're going to go through probably a lot of different phases before you
Mhm.
feel comfortable. But if you don't give up on yourself, which I've seen so many people do over the years, not give up on self. And it's beautiful to see the individuals that they
Mhm.
have come into. And I'm not even talking about learning how to dance. I'm talking about their mindset, the way they think, the
Yeah.
way their confidence is now.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of that started from that first class that was so scary that now they're the veterans and they're inviting people in and they're telling people like, oh, wait, don't worry, honey, it's fine. And I'm like, that's beautiful to go from being afraid to now you're almost like a mini coach in the class yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is
Hmm.
such a beautiful journey. I feel like that I So in my last episode, I really talked about self-trust, like
Yeah.
building self-trust and building, and that's like really the key to building confidence is like consistently showing up for yourself
Consistently
again and
showing up.
again, and just
Mm-hmm.
continuing putting in those reps,
Yeah.
because I truly feel like confidence is something that we built by
It's built.
being consistent and keeping
Yeah.
these little promises and just showing up for ourselves even when we're scared,
Yeah.
continuing doing that over and over again. So I feel like it's so perfect that
Yeah.
this next episode, you're here because you are the full embodiment of confidence, girl. You really are.
Yeah.
And I'm just so happy that you're here.
Thank
And
you.
I agree with everything you said about like having that, like seeing what a kid is like and having that
Mm-hmm.
mindset. Like you were able to learn how to ride a bike as a kid,
Right.
you allow yourself, when you're a kid, you, that is the beautiful thing about a kid is that they're so fully like present.
Yes.
They're not worried about anyone else.
So not worried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they just do what they want. They say what they want.
Yep.
They're just themselves,
You got to put a filter on them sometimes, like they're
Right.
just so free. You know what
Yeah.
I'm
And I
saying?
feel
Yeah.
like as an adult, the more I realize that it's really me like doing everything I loved as a kid and
Mm-hmm.
like really coming back to that innocence of a child and
Yeah.
like that mindset of a child,
Right.
Because as a kid, like when you think of something, like you said, they don't have a filter, so they just say whatever. So if
Yeah.
they, like, I'll be at a grocery store, a kid will come up to me and be like, "You're so pretty," or
Yeah.
something,
They do.
And
Just,
sometimes, like, even
yeah.
as adults, like, if we think of something nice, we'll almost hold ourselves back too because
Mm-hmm.
we don't know that person. But I've adapted this mindset of if I'm thinking of something nice, like I'm just gonna say it because if
Yeah.
it's something nice, it's not gonna,
Yeah.
unless it's something like not nice, then
Right.
it's like I'm gonna keep that to
Right.
myself.
Right.
But yeah, I love what you said about the kid
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
And then we've like talked a lot about energy already
Mm-hmm.
as well. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that's like a big topic that I definitely want to talk about because we are both just so big on energy.
So big
And
on
I think that's
energy.
why we
Yeah.
are here in this
Yep.
moment because since the day I met you,
Mm-hmm.
I just knew there was something about Tara J.
Yeah.
I remember after that class, I like stayed, went
Yes.
up
And
to
we
you.
talked after class and
Yes, I got
everything.
your info and
Yes.
I was like, I
We're
just need
gonna
to,
connect one day
yeah,
for something. Like we
yes,
didn't know what in that moment. We
yeah,
just knew, like, and I think again it was like that energy, that magnetic energy that you can't put words into why it's happening. It just is, and you
mhm,
feel it. Like you feel that energy. Because I felt that way with you also. I'm like, oh my God, like this is just a beautiful soul, like so magnetic. And even as an instructor, like I'm feeling all the energy. So if I got 60
right.
people in a class, there's like 60 different energies that I'm experiencing as like one person.
Yeah, and everyone's
Um,
like attention's on you
yeah, and
too.
everybody's attention on me.
So
So
you
it's
could,
like they're channeling. They're like,
yes.
whatever they're feeling, whether they're having a great day, it's like I'm feeling it. If they're not having the best day, I'm feeling that. If they're worried, I'm feeling that. So I'm getting such a mix of emotions. But I am learning and I feel like I'll always be learning. I don't think I'll ever like master this, but I am really just learning as an instructor. I have to be so aware of energies because I'm dealing with so many different people that are feeling so many different things coming into a dance class or fitness class, however they want to look at that. And I need to be able to not allow whatever these 60 different energies are, especially if it's not a good energy, maybe. And when I say not good, I'm meaning like maybe somebody's just, they had a really hard day and they're bringing that into class with them.
Mm,
Maybe they're just really nervous and they're bringing that into class with them. I have to work really hard as an instructor not to operate in that energy because the energy I give out as an instructor, that's what people are really also going to be receiving from me. And it's going to be feeding back to my participants in the class. So that's why I'm also really big on energy because without even trying to, we have a big role as instructors on the energy that's happening in our dance rooms, in our dance fitness classrooms.
mhm.
We have a lot to do with those energies. I just feel so blessed naturally that I know that I am a big energy. And I'm like, hey, if I'm in this energy, anybody around me about to be in this energy. I feel so
Yes.
blessed to have just kind of just grew up with a strong upbringing of like a mom and a dad that just really backed my big energy and didn't ask me to dim my light,
Mm.
and not to be this or not to do that. I mean, it was a lot. Don't get me wrong, it was a lot growing up with me, because I got in trouble for a kid is talking too much, because I always had something to say, not even bad, like I just had more input to like give. But again, this is my energy just always like coming out. And when it was time to be quiet, I struggled with that. And not even like and not even having like ADHD or anything like that. I just was like, I got something to say right now. I don't, want to be quiet in this moment,
Mhm.
or even feeling the energies in the room and not even realizing that I was even experiencing that at such a young age.
Mm.
Um, but I'm so blessed to like have parents that just really just help me to mold that. And like now seeing what I do in life, I'm like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Why I was like the talker in the class, or why I was
Yeah.
always the one that maybe was just like super outgoing about something. And, if I seen somebody, maybe sitting alone at the lunch table, I'm just going over to them like, hey, friend, like I've
Mm.
just always been that person. But now with the line of work and the things that I do, I'm like, oh my God, like this was meant for me to like walk into this. But now I am aware and I've learned and, educating myself and just dealing with people day to day. And you just learn so much, honestly, like not even textbook, like you learn from real life experiences of
Mhm.
how your energy, your words, and just how you move and operate, even as an instructor, you have such a big role in other people's
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I have some questions.
Okay. Yes.
So one, since we're talking about energy and you're huge on energy and you know how infectious it is and how it can
Mhm.
impact those around you, what are there any practices that you do maybe before you go into
Right.
class or maybe just on the daily to really make sure that your energy is like fully charged?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Um, if I'm being completely transparent and honest, the couple things that I do is like when I just wake up at the beginning of the day, I really just say, what, I'm grateful for another day and I'm grateful for all the blessings that are coming my way.
Mm.
And just already speaking that energy into existence. The fact that I woke up, I have breath in my body, even if everything in my life isn't solved. Honey, you got up and you got out the bed this morning, you know what I'm saying? And you have your health, and you're able to move and do the things that you want to do on your terms, and that is a blessing in itself. And I don't ever want to take those things like for granted.
Mhm.
Always just giving gratitude for just amazing things that are going to come my way, because I want my brain to be looking for the good things that are going to be happening that day.
Exactly.
Just like sometimes on the flip side, if we're like, oh my God, it's such a bad day, our brain is now looking for all the things to like go bad, without
Mhm.
us realizing, the things that we're doing. And so those are just simple things that I start my day with. And then if something maybe not so good happens, I am looking for the good in that situation, like, well, they might have banged this up on my car, but it still works. It still runs. I got car insurance. Like I'm still just trying to like figure out
Yes.
all of those different things, what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, oh my God, there is a solution. There is something that we can do about it. So I'm very optimistic, kind of things, but I don't have like any particular like practices or things like that. I would just say also just in my faith. I'm just a person of just really deep in my faith of just knowing without a doubt that things are going to work itself out, not the way that maybe I planned or intend for it
Mhm.
to, but the way that it needs to work itself out. So I think just a mixture of just waking up in gratitude and my faith are my practices. Like
Yeah,
literally, it's not like I
that's
sit and I do it
beautiful.
10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. It's just happening as I feel the need for it.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
kind of how
and
I
you've just,
operate.
like, programmed yourself
Yeah,
to, like, think that way.
it's just daily.
That's
Yep.
exactly how I
Mm-hmm.
am as
Yep.
well, so I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"I'm doing something right,"
Yeah. Yeah.
because I look up to
Yeah.
you, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what I do in the
Yeah.
morning, gratitude always for the
Yes.
little things, and
Mhm.
big things, and I love what you said about, like, even in bad situations when something bad happens, like, seeing the good in it and, like,
Mhm.
what this is teaching me because that is so important,
Right.
especially when, things are not going our way.
Right.
And I have a perfect example of this actually last week. After I took a dance class, actually, I came out and I had a flat tire.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
I had a
yeah.
flat tire
Right, right.
and I feel like I could have really like made that situation even worse,
Yeah.
by having a bad mindset. But I remember just thinking, like how thankful I was because I was only 5 minutes away from my house.
Mhm.
My boyfriend hadn't even started his dinner yet, so he was able to drive straight
Yeah.
over to me,
Right.
help me fix the tire. I didn't even have to do
Yeah.
anything.
Mhm.
And I was with two of my best friends who one of my best friend was about to pull out and she saw me like turn around. She
Mhm.
was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, no. And then she was
Right.
like, "I'm coming back." So
Right.
she came back, and then my other best friend also came back, and they
Exactly.
both immediately. Oh, okay. And they both immediately like stopped and came back and helped
Mhm.
me and like were like grabbing things out of their car. Like, okay,
Right.
let's like, they were immediately trying to jump into
Yeah.
action to help me. I'm not even kidding you. I didn't even have to lift a finger.
Right.
Like, I just had my friends who were ready to jump in, help me.
Yes.
And then my boyfriend was already on his way. And that
Yes.
it just like all worked out
Yep.
so well. And I was like,
Mhm.
guys, because my friends afterwards are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you have to get new tires." I'm like, guys, it's really fine. Like, money will come back,
Right.
and I'm just like grateful that like this happened. The best
So
case
many blessings.
scenario, I could have been
Yeah.
really far from home
So
by
many blessings.
myself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like being able to flip instead of
Yep.
seeing a bad situation, how like, why is this
Mhm.
happening to me?
Right. Because
But
then I feel
like,
like you're blocked. You're blocked from problem solving, maybe even figuring out the things that, are gonna work out for you. So yeah, like that's awesome. 'Cause
yeah.
it was like blessing after blessing after
Yeah,
blessing just
so
surrounding you.
gratitude,
Yeah.
very important.
Mhm.
So you started to share a little bit about your childhood
Yes.
and a little bit about your upbringing. So that's actually where I want to
Okay.
take us to next and really dive into who Tara J was before
Yeah.
all of this, before what you do. And yeah, just kind of share with us what your upbringing was like whatever you're comfortable with
Right.
sharing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, starting from my wee little let it days, um, dance is actually something that, as far back as I can remember, has always been a big part of my life. I definitely remember my parents saying that as young as like 3 or 4 years old, like I wasn't just dancing, like I could actually do choreography. Like I could mock
Wow.
whatever. Cause like my sisters were in drill team. And that's actually where I started with dance at. It goes back to like drill team days. I know some people started like in studio and other type of styles, and but I started in drill team. And drill team for me, when I think back on it, was very big energy. To be honest, like it welcomed big energy. It welcomed like just wild and big movements.
Mhm.
But my sisters, are older than me. I'm the youngest of four. So my brother's older than me. I have an older brother, two older sisters, and then myself. But my sisters were in drill team. And so I remember just going to practice and just kind of being like that little kid on the side, just doing choreo. Like whatever they were doing, I'm trying to mock them because I wanted to do whatever my sisters were doing.
Mhm.
But my mom really said, it was like, oh my gosh, she actually really knows what she's doing. She's just not this little 3 year old, 4 year old on the side doing whatever. Like she's actually able to like mimic the choreography. And so one of the girls in the drill team, they needed a banner girl one day just for somebody to like just carry the banner in the parade. And so she was like, she put a uniform on me, put me on the banner, and I carried the banner. And then basically from that day forward, I was in drill team. So then eventually I did wind up being in the actual drill team, doing performances. All of this probably as young as like 4 or 5 years old, like really, really young,
Wow, that's crazy.
So the ability to just be comfortable in big dance environments was just always there. I mean, you think about it being, 4 or 5 years old and not being afraid to be around all these people that are much older than you,
Yeah.
all these different energies. And I just wasn't afraid of it.
Mm.
So that's where I kind of got my start in dance is, like where that all came from. So the love has definitely been there from day one. Also growing up, fun fact, too, you talk about Tara J, which is so crazy, but the first name I ever learned as far as who I am was actually the name Shell, Chelle.
Okay.
And that actually comes from my middle name, which is Michelle. So for several years, I didn't even know my name was Tara because my family never said the name Tara
Okay, it
at
was always
all.
Shell.
It was always just Shell growing up. And I remember mom saying I was going to like kindergarten and she was just calling my name one day. She was just like, Tara, 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 because Tara actually is my first name. And I just looked at her and I'm like, who is this lady talking to? And I just kept doing what I was doing. And my mom was like, oh my gosh, she doesn't know her real name, you know? So I didn't learn Tara first. I learned Shell for several years. And I will always just call Shell because that's just what my family called me. That's what they called me in drill team. Born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. So that's just what everybody called me, was just Shell, like growing up. I get to high school, I'm on dance team and those different things in high school. And I'm nominated for homecoming queen. And I was like, nobody knows my name because on the ballot it said Tara Jackson on the ballots because my real name is Tara, last name Jackson. But I'm like, my whole school knows me as Shell. Like, so I'm not even in the running. Like, people don't know like who this is. So then it was probably like senior in high school where people started to actually learn that my name was Tara, you know. So here I am going my whole life as like Shell, get into high school, running for homecoming queen. And it's so crazy how people just came out the woodworks. Like, I would go into rooms and it would be on chalkboards. It would like, vote for Tara Jackson, AKA Shell. And it was just, people would just be writing this on the boards. I'm like, who is writing this? I have no idea. But that's how it started to like circulate around the room, the school, that Shell is Tara Jackson is Shell. We're the same person kind of thing.
Uh,
And then as I got into senior year, moving more into just like college and some of those different things, I really was like, I actually really like Tara. I think I just kind of just outgrew Shell. I don't really even know
yeah.
why.
Mhm.
I was like, I really like the name Tara more. And so in college and things like that, I just didn't even introduce myself as Shell. I was just like, I'm Tara. Like, you know, so I would just say Tara, Tara, Tara. And then fast forward, I was at an event working with another girl named Tara on an event. This was maybe like in the past, I don't know, God, like 6, 7 years. Her name was Tara. My name was Tara. We both spelled it Tara. And so it was like, they were like, how are we going to distinguish between the two? And I was just like, oh, just call me Tara J. Not thinking anything about it, not knowing that like this is going to become a big part of like your identity.
Yeah.
They was like, okay, well, just call you Tara J. So from that event, everybody would say Tara J if they wanted me, and just say Tara if they wanted the other Tara. So Tara J just like stuck with me. And so then as I did more dance stuff and more classes and different things, I was like, I actually like Tara J. And so then Tara J was born, you know, kind of thing. And so anything I did business related, or if I go do speeches or MC, I just be like, oh, I'm Tara J. T as in Tom, ARAJ. It's kind of like how I always like introduce myself in my
Yeah.
name. And so that's kind of like the evolution of like dance, going from that into like Tara J, and it all being a big part of like who I am, you know, like
Mm.
now today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm so glad you explained that because
Yeah.
honestly, I was
Yeah.
wondering that
I
too.
know, I can see the look on your face. He was like, "Shell?" Like, I wish y'all could have seen our face. Like, he was like, "Where did Shell come from?" We didn't talk about that beforehand, did
Yeah.
we?
No,
Yes.
because I was, telling my
Yeah.
boyfriend about you,
Yeah.
and every time I talk about you, I'm like, "Yeah, Tara J." And he was like, "Is that her name, Tara
Yeah.
J?" I was like, I mean,
Right, like, is it? Yeah.
I was like, "That's what I know her as." I was like,
Yes.
Tara J without the J just
It
feels
it
weird.
it does. And when I introduce myself to people now, and I'm like, "Oh, it's Tara J." And they're like, "Oh, hi, Tara." And I'm like, "It's Tara J." And then they'll be like, "Oh, hi, Tara." And I'm like, "It's Tara J." They're like, "Oh, hi, Tara J." You know, because it's like somebody, they'd be like,
You
"Oh,
said
my,"
it's Tara
yeah, if
J.
my name is, you know, like
My name is
Kayla Marie, you know,
Yeah.
and if you just say your name is Kayla Marie, people are just gonna say Kayla Marie. I don't know, it's just something about Marie that people just know, or like, you
Right.
know, Sue Ellen. They're just gonna keep it together. They're not gonna be
Yeah.
like just Sue, but if you say Tara J, they're like, oh, just hi Tara. Not just hi, but like, hi Tara. And I'm like, it's Tara J. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
So
But
you do
now it
prefer.
is, but yeah, but
Yeah.
I prefer that now because it is a big part of how I identify. I love my last name, Jackson. That's where the J, of course, come from. Just my first initial. I love my last name being Jackson. But it also definitely feels like it just separates me, you know, and it is
Mhm.
who I am, and it is a part of what I'm even trying to branding, you know, it wasn't even things I
Yeah.
was trying to do over the
Mhm.
years, but so many people just got to know the name Tara J, and just different things that I did. So it feels weird to me if somebody's like, "Oh, hey, Tara," you know, like that does just feel weird. I'm like, "Oh, it's,"
Yeah.
and nicely, I'm like, "Oh, it's Tara J," you know, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
That makes
But
sense.
yeah, but like now I'm like, it is a big part of who I am. My last name, like I said, it means a lot to me. Just being a Jackson. I love being a Jackson. I love what it stands for.
Mm.
All of those different things, and so and then just really being just growing into who Tara is, like morphing from Shell over several years. And like now, I definitely know if you know me from my childhood or if you met me more in my adult years. Because if you'd be like, hey, Shell, and you see me out somewhere, I'm like, oh, they know me from being born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, and like my
Right.
childhood.
Mhm.
And I still answer to it. Like I still answer to Shell, Um, but it's just like Tara J is just more who I have grown into as a woman, who I stand for, where my energy and just how I identify and just what I'm doing in this phase of my life and how I
Mhm.
impact lives. And
Mhm.
your name is very valuable, whether you have a business or not. You know what I'm saying? Like when you introduce yourself to someone and when you walk away from them and you want them to remember your name and maybe how they felt. You know what I'm saying? And so your name has value. I don't
Mhm.
think people always look at it like that. They're like, oh, I'm just Sam. Oh, I'm just Katie. Oh, I'm Jess. And I be telling people, no, you're not just. You know what I'm saying? You are, you know what I'm saying? So take the
Mhm.
just out of it because it kind of takes away from who you are as a person. And not that you're trying to push yourself down, but it kind of be like, oh, well, yeah, that is just Sam. Like, no, you are somebody. You're not just. And so that's why I'm so particular about I'm Tara J, T is in Tom, ARAJ. I introduce myself in classes like that when I travel, when I'm MC, because if I've made an impact on you, I want you to remember how you feel, but hopefully you can also remember the name of the person that helped you to feel that way. Cause you might be able to be like, you need to meet this person. And it's hard to be just explaining to somebody, well, they had great energy. They had this, they had that. And you're like, but who was that? Like, I want to be able to say it was Cindy. I want to be able to send somebody to you and be like, oh, I met Cindy at this event a year ago. I want to be able to say your name. So that way people
Mhm.
can connect it versus just what I felt, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. And so I want us to take it a step further than not only how we felt, but what is the name of that person that impacted us to that degree? And let's spread the love in that name of that individual because they could be a blessing to somebody else. And we can't do that if we can't remember their name. And so that's why I think
Mm.
names is so important. And I know we have to say it a few times sometime before people remember, but I'm like,
Yeah.
say it that few times, because I want you to remember that because there's power in your name. You don't have
Yes.
to be a celebrity. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to make $1 million. Your name has value. And I need you to know that, own that, and be that. When somebody say your actually your name, say it with confidence so that they remember, and not,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just such and such.
Mhm.
So just trying to get people to remember that very simple things. Your name has power.
I
Your name has
love that.
power.
I'm, like,
Yeah.
over here
Yeah, your
thinking
name has power.
yes, because I guess something that I've been, like,
Mhm.
toying with
Mhm.
so, like, my name is Cindy, yay,
Mhm.
right? But then in the podcast, a lot of times I introduce myself as Sid,
Okay.
and that's just something I started doing even with my Instagram handle, it's Fit Girl
Yeah.
Sid.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was more catchy, I don't know,
Yeah,
than,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Cindy. Uh, so I've been, like, toying with, like, when I introduce myself, I'm like, "Do I say Cindy or do I say
Right.
Sid?"
Yeah.
Kind of playing around with that. So
Yeah.
now
And
I
I think
look
in those instances, which is
yeah.
totally understandable, I think like if you want to be introduced as Sid, there's nothing wrong with that. Like if that's what you have chosen and that's how you want to like maybe go about life or maybe your branding or your business or maybe that's just who you are in this part of your life. And if that is, just say that with power. You know what I'm saying or
Mhm.
whatever. If you
Yeah.
don't want to go by Cindy, like that's fine.
Mhm.
I think sometimes without realizing it, we can tell people, oh, well, my name is for example, like I'll go back to the name just Samantha, just because sometimes people like to be called Sam and sometimes they do not like to be
Mhm.
called.
Mhm.
But however they introduce that to you, let's be respectful and make sure we say it that way. If they're like, oh, it's Samantha, you know, um,
Right, yeah.
let's call her that. Or she
Mhm.
may say, it's Samantha, but I want to be called Sam. Then let's just call her
Yeah.
Sam, like kind of thing.
Yes.
But however, whatever you are in your life, wherever you are, whether it's a nickname that you really love, or maybe you're trying to get away from that nickname and you want to go by your birth name,
Mhm.
or whatever it is, like make sure you own that with
Mhm.
the power that you walk in it so that when you say it to other people, they will understand how important that is for you and hopefully they respect that, as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So if it's Sid for you, then go by Sid, like
Yeah.
own it. That's the phase of your life you are in. And if you change 5 years from now, I'm like, hey, it's Cindy, and that's where you're at. Then 5 years from now, then that's what we call you, and that's what you
Yeah.
do. But for me, it was Shell for several years, then it was just Tara. But now I'm
Right.
in my era of I prefer to go by like Tara J. I will answer to Shell. I will answer to Tara, you know.
Mhm.
But like I said, Tara J is just more of, I think, where more of my groundwork has been done, impacting
Yeah.
lives and stepping into who I am as a woman and my confidence and the what I know about myself and how I give that back. And so I think
Mhm.
that's why Tara J is so important because a lot of that started under the name Tara J for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
I love that. So does your family, what do they call you?
They call me Shell and they
That
call
makes
me,
sense.
it's so funny, they call me Shell and they call me Boosie. So
Oh.
I have 2 nicknames with my family, yeah. So, but a
Yeah.
lot of my family, but again, they've been around me from birth. They've called me that all their lives.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll say, like Chera, and things like that or whatever. But for a lot of them, it's Shell or it's Auntie or it's Boosie, that kind of
Right.
thing with my family.
Yeah. So you say you're from
Omaha,
Omaha?
Nebraska.
Yes.
Born and raised
So
there.
what brought you to Kansas City?
Yeah, so I came to Kansas City because I had reached a point where I wanted to audition for a pro team. So
Mhm.
again, having that dance background, doing a lot of different things in dance. In Nebraska, I had danced in drill team. I had did high school, did college, was a UDA instructor, Universal Dance Association, travel, did some of that. Um, Dance for semi-pro teams, Omaha Nighthawks, Omaha Beef, which are semi-pro teams in Nebraska, but Nebraska doesn't have anything professional. So if you want to go pro, so to speak,
Mm.
NBA or NFL, you have to basically leave the state. We just don't have that there. So just having that dream and just aspiring to just want to just dance at the pro level, whether that was NBA or NFL, I knew I had to leave Nebraska. So I just ventured out, auditioned for the Chiefs here in Kansas City. And this was probably like back in like 2012. I did not make it my first year. So, of course, I was bummed out. And I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like this feels so
Crushed.
horrible. Yeah, it's like, well, I'm just not going to audition
Yeah.
again. Like, I gave it my best, that's fine.
Mhm.
Luckily, my dad was just a voice of reason, and he's like,
Mm.
just give it another go. He was like, if you do it again, they'll take you the next year. Keep pushing forward, and I'm glad to have somebody in my corner. Like, as if I'm riding that bike,
Yes.
somebody helping to hold me up,
That is
kind
so
of thing.
important to have that support
Yeah, to have that
system.
support. And
Mhm.
so the following year in 2013, I did go back and I did audition and I did make the team in 2013. What was also really cool was my first year of auditioning in 2012. Like I said, the year that I did not make it, they also did form for the very first time what they called their training team for Chiefs
Mm.
cheerleaders. So I actually was invited to be a part of the training team for 6 months. I was living in Nebraska at that time, so I still had to like drive up at least once a month to participate in
Mm.
that. But just because you were on training team did not equal you were going to make the team when you auditioned the following season.
Mm.
But I did, put the time, work, energy, driving hours, all of that stuff.
Yeah, you're dedicated.
Yeah, absolutely. And did that in 2012 for training team and then auditioned in 2013 and I made the team. And so then it was like, all
Mm.
right, we're moving to Kansas City. So my
Yeah.
son and myself and my nephew at that time, my nephew was, I don't know, probably like 24, 25, something about that time. He moved with me because otherwise I would have no family here, because it was like just my son and I. And so he was like, I'm coming with you. You gonna need help. So I love like just having family that was just like down to go. So we're
Yeah.
completely different.
So how
Um,
old were you in this era?
yeah, so at that time, oh my gosh, and I was not young.
Mhm.
I know some people audition, they're probably like 18 or 22, and that's great. But I want to say I was 29 or 30 at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, so which is not your
Yeah.
average. And then
Right.
also being a parent, so
Yes.
it's just not your ordinary circumstance that you usually see somebody
Mm.
auditioning for a pro team. Maybe they're in college or just finished college, and I'm like, I had did all of that. I'm like, I didn't finish my undergrad, I didn't finish my grad school, and I'm mom of a 6-year old. I'm like, this isn't what you normally
Mm.
see,
Mhm. At the
auditioning.
time,
Yeah.
your son was 6?
Yeah, at that time. Yeah,
Okay.
so back in like 2012, 2013, my son was
Okay.
6 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
I feel like your path was definitely more untraditional than
Very.
a
Yeah.
normal girl
Uh-huh.
who is auditioning for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and how
Mhm.
old was your nephew when he moved with you?
And yeah, and my nephew, like I said, my nephew was more like probably like I said, maybe like 24, 25, if I'm even getting that right. I
Mhm.
have a host of nieces and nephews. I can't keep up with their ages. But definitely in a space where if I needed to travel or to do something, he could keep my son and help get him to and from school, like
Gotcha.
those kind of things. And
Okay.
that's why that was important to have that
Yeah.
support because I was a single parent.
Mhm.
And it's really hard to do that, especially with somebody that's not family and moving to a city that you don't really know anybody yet. I gained
Mhm.
great family, friends that became family type stuff. But when I first moved here, I didn't have that. So it was basically like the three of us, like our little trio making this work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
shout out to your nephew
Yeah,
for
I
like coming here
know.
with
I
you.
know,
I'm sure that was
nephew.
like a huge help
Yes,
with your
huge.
son.
Yes,
Yeah.
huge. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So there's a couple things. I obviously want to know more about, your single mom journey, what that was
Yeah.
like. And then I also want for someone who is listening who maybe are interested in getting into the NFL
Mhm.
cheerleading, do you have any advice or tips that you would have for them?
Yes. I will probably say if there's somebody who is interested in, NFL, NBA, or anything like that, I would definitely say make sure you study the team, that you're looking at. Also have in mind more than just one team. Sometimes I think we can get really laser focused probably on the team, maybe in the city where we're at, which is nothing wrong with that. But the chances of making a pro team is already really hard. Like you could be great at what you do, but it's very, very, very competitive, to do so. So I would definitely say, like keep your options open of, different teams, maybe other teams that are like close to home. Um, Also a team that you feel like you really do connect with. And I think even more important than even auditioning, the whole process that comes with it is really asking yourself, do you want to just dance at that pro level or do you want to dance for that pro team? And I think those are different questions, and I don't think we really think about that. I think it's sometimes if you think about your home team, it's like, oh, I just want to, you know, if it is Chiefs, I just want to dance for the Chiefs. And you get laser focused on just that. And then if it doesn't work out, sometimes you just let that dream go altogether. But maybe that's because that was the only team that you wanted to focus on. And that's fine. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you have that desire in your heart, then maybe if it didn't work out with that particular NFL or NBA team, you're open to other options and that journey continues for you,
Mhm.
and then you can go to different places and, try different things. But I think you got to get really clear on, why do you even want that? You know what I'm saying? Like to begin with.
Mhm.
And then most importantly, too, not just focusing on the end result of making that team, like going pro to be on that team, but also how can you grow from that experience to go pro in life? Because if it doesn't work out for you, what are you doing from there? But I'm pretty sure you are going to gain some very valuable things in that journey of auditioning,
Yeah.
so just really be
Mhm.
open. Really be open to like what may come. And even if it's not the outcome that you were hoping for to make that team, what are still just those brilliant like nuggets that happen along the way that can help you
Mhm.
step into the next journey or the next thing in your life. Because sometimes you're led and can pull to maybe one audition pro, but like higher calling and the universe has a whole other plan for you. And you just got to be
Yeah.
open to that whole other plan,
Yes,
kind of
I
thing.
firmly believe that. Like we can have a plan,
Yeah.
but there's also God's plan,
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Like you thought you were coming to audition for a team, but it was like you were actually meant to meet these two or three people
yes,
along the way to now
exactly.
do this particular adventure, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
So what was that experience like being on the cheer team? How
Yeah.
long did you do that for?
Yeah, I did 4
4
years. Yeah, so
years?
I did,
Okay.
2013, 14, 15, and 16.
Okay.
Yes, I was before the Mahomes era. I know some people are like, "Oh,"
Before?
I was before. I was under
Okay,
Alex
okay.
Smith. Yes, our quarterback was Alex Smith, and it still was awesome. It was still great, still so many good things. Andy Reid actually even came my first year in 2013, so that was the coach then. So lots of, like great things, but dancing during that time, it was really fun. Like a great group of girls that I got to know, great support system, sisterhood.
Mm.
Um, also learn a lot about communication and speaking. I know you go on it to like be, to dance, but there is a lot of appearances where you actually are engaging and talking with people. So you're
Mm.
using more of your speaking, skills and some of that stuff
Yeah, because
than
you're
just,
also
yeah,
representing the
your
team.
representation
Yes.
of the team. And
Uh-huh.
that's on and off the field, so growing in so many different ways that I had no clue going into it with. I was just more of
Mm.
like, oh, I'm a dance. It's going to be so great. Get to dance in front of 80,000 people.
Yeah.
But it's so much more, what I'm saying, than that, but just the growth of, being able to speak with confidence, also, like learning, 4 or 5 routines, for one particular game or even in 1 or 2 weeks. So things are just moving at a really fast pace. On top of making sure you are showing up to those appearances that that you're obligated to, as well as the practices, as well as your workouts. And then for me, on top of that, making sure that I'm also giving my son the time and attention and energy that he needs, as well,
Yeah.
so just juggling all of those things, but very doable, very possible, and then something that I wanted to do. So there's no complaining. It was like, let's get the job done. This is what you signed up for. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna know what season shaped you the most
Hmm.
into who you are today.
Yes. Oh, such a deep
It
question.
is, isn't it?
Um, I definitely feel like a season that shaped me the most, it would have to start back when, unfortunately, I did lose my mom in a car accident some years ago. This is like 2005, so this is not recent, but that was a very defining moment in my
Mm.
life. I want to say I was like 23 years old. I only had, I don't know, maybe about 6, 7 months of school left before I was going to be graduating, like with my master's degree. And it was honestly the first time in my life I had ever lost anybody as well. Something that
Wow,
I
yeah.
understood, a
Mhm.
connection, having a connection to
Yeah.
someone. And I just remember in that phase of my life, definitely hitting a phase of like, yeah, this school thing, I'm over it. I'm not doing it. I'm not moving forward with it. Just kind of like feeling like giving up if I just want to like sum it up, like kind of thing.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, and not only because of just like losing my mom, but I was going through a lot also because we were in a car accident, and I was in the car with her, as well as my sister and my sister's husband at that time. So 4 of us. And my mom was the only one who did not survive. So that in itself is already a lot.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then I had so many injuries myself that I was
Mm.
dealing with. So there's a lot of like, not even just emotional, like physical and mental that, I don't even know like how to handle, just because I got a broken pelvis and I got
Wow. Yeah.
broken bones in my neck and I have burns on my body from the gasoline from the car, just so many different things, So um,
Mm.
the weight of just all of that was just really heavy, really, really heavy at that point in my life. And so, not that I felt like giving up on life, but I just definitely felt like I didn't see the reason to finish school. I didn't see the reason to keep pushing forward. I didn't see the reason to do a lot of
Mhm.
things, like in that sense.
Yeah.
But in the process of again having support, healing, really also knowing like Tara, you have to lean to your faith, girl. Like, what are you doing? Also like just hearing that voice from my mom of like, what would she say if she was here? Kind of thing, asking myself those kind of questions. Um, and long story short, without getting into detail of every single thing, because that's a whole nother podcast in itself, that pulled me out to be like, okay, you have to like keep pushing forward. You know what I'm saying? Because my mom would be thoroughly disappointed. If you knew, as they called her name, Bobby Sue, those 2 names, here we go with 2 names type situations, Bobby Sue. She was not going for not finishing school and just things that she really just wanted all of us as her kids to do, go to college and finish, and then if you want to start a family or do whatever you want to do from there. So I knew she would be highly disappointed if I didn't. So just carrying that with me like really close to my heart, that she may not physically be here, but she still has expectations of me. She still have things that she wants me to do.
Mhm.
Also, like, I did still have my dad is still living, and was very supportive at that time. And I did still have siblings. And I still had so much to live for, So
Right.
really having to come
Mhm.
around to, yes, I lost something, but there's still so much to live for, And Um, just really leaning into my faith to like just kind of get there. And I think that part of my life taught me about my strength. So there's a very defining point in my life of just letting me know, like, you have way more strength than what you even think you are capable, you know what I'm saying,
Mhm.
like, of doing. Because I was also a big support for my sisters and I was a big support for my dad, so just as much as I needed them, they needed me, type
Mm.
thing. So finding the strength to get through that experience. And then eventually, a couple years after that, I did have my son. So that was 2005. Then I had my son in
Mm.
2007. And so now here I am on this journey of, single parent life and just understanding like what it takes to have your heartbeat walking outside of your body. And whenever this
Mm.
kid goes somewhere, is he going to be okay? Is he coming
Yeah.
back? Whoever's watching him, are they really keeping a good eye on him? So, you learn about life in a totally different way, like once you have kids. And it tests your strength and it tests your ability to keep pushing forward. But it shapes you, you know what I'm saying, or
Yeah.
whatever. But you also have to think about how do you want to be shaped? Are you going to be afraid and just back down and, cry about everything? Or are you going to find a way to keep pushing forward and find your strength and, your support, your resources, ways to keep, moving forward? It's not going to all be easy, but with challenges and bumps in the road and things like that, finding a way to kind of, like get over those things. So those two things, like losing my mom and then becoming a mom, you know what I'm saying, which is
Wow.
so crazy.
That
Losing my mom,
yeah.
becoming a mom were definitely pivotal in shaping the person of who I am today.
Mm.
Um, as scary as both of those things were, I also feel like it helped me to become fearless in so many ways of like, if I can survive that, and if I can, anybody that's a mom out there can relate. If you can survive having kids and letting them function and go on their own and have your sanity, your strength in way, you have strength in ways that you don't even know, you know what I'm saying, like that you have them. Just
Mhm.
because you just want nothing to ever happen to those little people that you birth. You don't want them to get a
Yeah.
scrape. You don't want them to get their
Mm.
knee bent up, like whatever it is. But you also have to let them be. And that's not an easy thing to do,
Yeah, letting them be their own
letting them be,
person.
yeah, letting them
Yeah.
be their own person, but there to support them, as
Yeah.
needed. So I'd learned a lot about my strength and my faith through those two experiences. And then after, like dancing like at the pro level, when I got done with that, it was like, okay, well, what are we doing? What's the next
Mhm.
chapter in life now? Kind of thing. And I've always just naturally felt um just compelled to just be a voice and be there for people. But I wasn't always doing it in that capacity that I
Right.
felt in my heart, the need to do so. I always felt like I've been a very personable person, easy to talk to. People just share stuff with me, even if I didn't want them to share, kind of thing. And I used to kind of sometimes think like, why did they just share so much with me, at that point in my life, I didn't really understand my purpose. I didn't really understand, those things. And then fast forward through up until like 2017, I started teaching at Dance Fit Flow. So I'm teaching, but I'm also in a phase of my life of just feeling like something is missing from me teaching. I don't know what it is. Like I'm loving teaching, but there is still just something that is not leaving me fulfilled in a way that I want to. And I didn't know exactly what that was. But I also noticed in that journey of teaching that I would have like thoughts or things come to my mind that I just wanted to say in class, and I just never said it out loud because I didn't know how people would be affected by me just speaking whatever these, as I say, like downloads, so to speak. Um, from whatever faith you believe in, God or whatever it is. But I just felt like I always had something to say, but I just never said it because I just didn't know how that would impact people. Like, will they come back if
Mhm.
I'm like saying what I'm really thinking? And I just remember just that some years just leaving class, like, dang, something is just missing. But I kept teaching. I kept showing up, teaching like hip hop classes that I was doing at that time. And then finally one day I was just like, you know what? I am just going to just say what I'm saying because these things just keep coming to me. And I just feel like I'm limiting myself by holding it all in. And so I had one particular class where I actually did just say what I was thinking. I don't know what I said. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know what I said that day because there's a lot that comes out of this filter.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember at the end of that class, like I felt good. I was like, okay, that felt good. Like, people stayed. Nobody just walked out the door,
Yeah.
like kind of thing.
Mhm.
Because I just felt like I wanted to give more than just you showing up and I'm teaching you a couple like footsteps. I want to pour into you, but I wasn't
Mhm.
doing that because I wasn't using my voice, if that makes sense. And that particular class, I did say what was on my heart in that day. And I remember after class, I received a message from from a woman that had attended class. And I'll never forget because I feel like this was a transformational and a pivotal point as to why things started changing how I teach. She did let me
Mhm.
know that my class and just what I said in class to her that day. And again, I couldn't tell you what I said to this day, but she just said, what I said in class that day is what she needed to hear because it was the first time in her life that she felt right in her body, that she felt comfortable in her own skin, as unfortunately she was a victim of sexual assault. Now, the day I'm saying the things I'm saying this in class, I had no idea. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Maybe I was saying something about let's feel good in our skin. So I have no idea. But whatever message I said that day, it was maybe meant for her without me realizing it. But after reading that message from her, like in my DMs, I just was like, oh my God, this is why I can't keep quiet because I just don't know what my message and my word and whatever I'm supposed to say that day how it's impacting somebody and how it can maybe uplift them, in some kind of way. And so that was really powerful for me, for someone who was unfortunately a victim of sexual assault. Finally felt good in her own body by something that I said.
Yeah.
And I do remember she kept coming to class. And of course, I never brought that back up to her. I just let her be, kind of thing.
Mhm.
But that also gave me permission without her realizing that it was giving me permission to be like, Tara J, you actually just need to say the things that you're thinking. And I
Mhm.
did. And from that day forward, I just say it. Like whatever I'm thinking in class, whether it's a message at the beginning of class, whether it's at the end of class, whether it's in the middle of class, I just say that. And I think that that was definitely a turning point because I started to see people not just show up, but like show up and start to transform. Also show up and continue to stay. I started to see my classes start to have wait lists now. And I knew that it wasn't just because of just the dance steps, it was just a mixture of it's dancing, it's transformation. It's therapeutic in its own kind of way, kind of thing. And I really started to live by my message of you come to class to dance, but I come to class to transform your life. And that's the premise I started teaching from,
Yeah.
you know. And so
Mhm.
what I'm thinking and just those introductions at class and just getting people comfortable to just say your name and feel good about it or do something fun at the beginning of the class. Like, let's let the walls down immediately so that we can enjoy the magic that we all have to offer, what I'm saying? Like in this class. I'm full out in class, just the way I teach, the way I talk, the way I act. I tell people, you ain't got to do everything I'm doing, but like, that's all with purpose. And then at the end of
Mhm.
class, if there is a message or something that I feel compelled to say, I actually say it. And I've had a lot of people over the years definitely say things that I said in class has helped them tremendously in their everyday lives, kind of thing. And so that's how I know the power of us as instructors. We're not just meant to come and just teach that fitness class where somebody could just burn 800 calories,
Yeah.
1,000 calories, or
Mhm.
whatever it is. Like we are leaders, we are a voice, which is also kind of where my dance preacher
Yep.
side of me has,
Yes.
like come from. It just,
Mhm.
it just surfaced over the years. And so people do call me the dance preacher. They're like, girl, you always got a word in class like you do. And I'm proud of that, and I'm so glad that I didn't allow myself to say stuck in that space when I first started teaching, but
Mhm.
recognizing my strength from like losing my mom to becoming a mom to becoming this person that have so much to give in my voice, in my dance, in my energy, and I can make an impact. And now I'm like walking in that 1000% unapologetic about it. If you
Mhm.
come to my class and you love it, great, you stay. And if you come and maybe it's not for you, that's also fine. Maybe you'll find your way back at a time when it is better for you, or maybe that might get you thinking about, well, what do I need? Because we're not all for everybody. Tara J is not
Yes.
the be all for anybody that's looking for a dance
Yeah, and you
fitness
don't wanna
class.
be
And I don't
everyone's
want to
cup of
be.
tea.
Right. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be that
Mhm.
way because sometimes, on the other side, if there are some energies that don't belong in the space of what you
Mhm.
have created. So I'm very protective, like of that also too.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful when the way that it all comes together when you can have dance, therapy, impact, love, people building their confidence
Yes.
all from a dance fitness class or even a hip hop class.
Yeah,
Mhm.
movement is, like, so therapeutic,
Yeah.
with all that combined, and I feel like with everything you share, it's truly in those hard moments that
Mhm.
really how you handle it
How you
and how you
handle
come
it.
out of it, it really is telling of a person's character. You
Absolutely.
know, it's in those moments that really builds
Mhm.
a person. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing all
Absolutely.
of that.
Yeah.
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 And honestly, I feel like we should start to wrap up the
Okay.
podcast.
Sounds good.
I mean, honestly, there's so
Yeah. I
much
know there
more.
was so much.
There is so much
Absolutely.
more that I want to know about you.
Yes.
Like, but we are going to have an in-person live event on June
Yes.
6th,
June 6th.
where if you guys made it all the way to the end of this episode, if you
Mhm.
have any burning questions that you must know, bring it on June
Yes.
6th, and
June
we will have
6th.
a live speaking portion after the dance class
Yes.
where we will answer some of your questions and we can even go in deeper into any topics
Yeah.
that we feel like we didn't cover enough today, you
Yeah.
know, but I do have just some final questions
Yeah,
as we're wrapping
absolutely.
up
Yes.
the episode. Let me quickly look through. But yeah, I feel like you pretty much like just
Yeah.
you were on like you were flowing. I was like, I'm just gonna let
Yeah.
her talk
Yes,
and I'm
yes.
gonna sit
I know
back.
there's so much that can be said, but definitely get to that event on June 6th.
Yes,
Experience it
guys,
in
like we said,
person.
it's not what everything you said, you guys are going to be able to experience
Yes,
in person. This is so much more than just a dance class, so much
yes,
more than just a podcast event. We are taking you on an emotional
yes,
transformation. It's going to be a journey, okay? It's a
yes,
3-hour event, and we are going to start with your dance class to,
yes. A work dance fitness
yes,
class, WERQ.
yes, to really, you know, get you guys moving and I feel like break
Mhm.
some walls. Like that
Yes,
way you guys are more open, you're flowing, you
yes.
know, you've moved your body, you're feeling good, you're feeling empowered.
Mhm,
And then right after that, Maddie, the owner of the frequency method, is actually going to take us through a sound bath meditation. And
mhm.
right before the sound bath meditation, we are going to be setting an intention. And I will be leading us through this exercise. So then after the sound bath meditation, then we will open the floor up for
Mhm.
a quick little live podcast session
Yes.
to where, you know, we are speaking in this same format.
Yes.
And I want this to be interactive. I want people to be able to, you know, ask us questions and be
Mhm.
a part of the conversation, you know,
Absolutely,
because this is for
absolutely.
everyone.
Yes.
And I want people to really like, feel like they can take something away
Mhm.
after this event. And then after that, we will have time for you guys to mingle, further connect with each other, and hopefully leave with at least one new connection because that is always my personal
Yes.
intention. Any
Yes.
event that I go to, I'm not trying to connect with every single person. I'm trying
Right.
to find one. I always tell myself, just make
You
one.
don't need 20. Yes,
Yes,
one is
one
powerful.
one deep connection, one deep
One is
genuine connection is
powerful.
better than 20 surface level,
Yes.
you know? And like it's good to, you know, want to get to know everyone, talk to everyone, but that's usually my goal is try
Mhm.
and make one connection. So I would love for you guys to make one new connection and leave feeling transformed and
Yes.
inspired
Yes.
from this event. So
And you will, trust me, you will.
yeah.
Just be open, get yourself there,
Yes, open-minded and
be open,
open-hearted.
get yourself there. If you're just feeling like, oh, I don't know, I think I want to, even if you just got that little tug at your heart, just come, just
Yeah,
come.
why not? Take a
Yep,
chance on yourself, you
yep.
know?
Hmm.
And another reason why this event, I kind of came to this realization last night. I feel like this event feels like it really like hits me deep because of what I shared with you in the beginning. It's like dancing was never something that I was
Right,
confident in.
right,
So the fact that I'm hosting an event and there's dancing
right.
involved, like
Yes,
that, I just feel like that is such a moment for me.
yes.
And I love
Yes.
that.
I think people also just a quick thought about like dancing. I think you also gotta remember there's so much more than just dance and fitness when you go to a class. If you allow your brain to get stuck at, oh, it's a dance fitness class and that's it, you're gonna miss so much that the journey has to offer you. There's friendship,
Mhm.
there's community, there's connection, you know,
Yeah.
there's, getting to know self, there's building your confidence. There's so many different things that you won't find in the description of a dance fitness class or
Mhm.
a dance class. So that's why you got to get there so that you're not stunted at just like, oh, I can't dance. You don't
Right.
have to. You can still go and not know how to dance
Yes.
and be just fine, you know?
Yes,
All are
exactly.
welcome, all levels, all
Yes, this
levels.
is judgment-free zone, and I really
Mhm.
truly want people as soon as they step into the space to really feel like they're emotionally safe and that this is a safe
Mhm.
space,
Yes.
you know? Okay, so to wrap it up, I have a couple questions.
Okay.
What would you tell your younger self?
Oh, younger self, that's a good one. Um, I think I would tell younger self to be okay with pivoting at any point in life that I truly feel the need to do so. And I say that because I think sometimes, there's been a path like laid out. And my parents, they did the best that they could, like go to college and, they give you guidelines and all those different things. And I just
Mhm.
was doing those things because that's what I was told. But maybe within what I truly felt, maybe I felt compelled to maybe do things differently and go a different way. But I didn't trust myself enough to do that until I was probably like in my, I don't know, like late 30s. And then I was like, oh, I can pivot. And I wish that maybe I
Mhm.
would have done those things sooner in life. Like it's okay to change your mind about things. It's okay for things to be trial and error. Because maybe I wouldn't have did some things maybe as long as I did, just because I felt like I needed to do that path because that's what I was told. So I didn't pivot as soon as
Mm.
I probably could have.
Okay, so just
Hmm.
allowing yourself to pivot.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
I feel like I am the queen of that.
Yeah. I was like, like you ain't got to stick with it for 10 years or 15 years if you don't want to, like
Yeah,
don't be afraid. Yeah. Trust yourself. Hmm.
love that. And what is one thing you want women listening to remember?
Oh, God, these are such good questions. And I have like 80 different things that go through my
You're like,
head.
"One thing?"
Like, I know I'm like, I only got to say one. Something to remember, you said. Um, I think I would say something I would want. Wait, ask me the question one more time. I want to make sure.
What's one thing you want women listening to remember from this
From this
conversation?
conversation,
Yeah.
right? Okay, I just want to make
Mhm.
sure that I was thinking about that. I would probably say something I would want them to remember is pulling out from this conversation that there is strength that you cannot even believe that you have in some of the most challenging, grueling, ugly parts of your life. Um, and take that strength and allow it to be the light and giving you the courage to push forward versus, you know, that dim light that makes you feel like you want to be in a dark hole. Because challenging experiences, it's easy to go backwards as a
Mhm.
result of being in those, but understanding that as crazy as it sounds, like there's so much magic and beauty and character that you can build from those ugly, maybe challenging parts of your life. If you can allow yourself to pull that out.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
I know, I just like putting you on
I
the
know.
spot
So I was like,
there.
ooh, what I want them to remember. But yeah, I think I would say that, because talking about a couple of the tough things I've been through,
Yeah.
very easy to just go backwards, give up, don't want to do anything. But
Mhm.
finding and recognizing how much it has helped me to grow and the
Yeah.
strength that I've gained from it and
Yeah, I
working
feel
from
like
there.
when you're going through hard times in the moment, it's really hard to see. But then
Hmm.
once you're out of it, then it's like you're able to really reflect and
Hmm.
see what that moment really taught you.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last question I wanted to ask you is what does self love mean to you?
Mm. Self love means so many different things. I would say for me, uh, self love goes back to probably like the two principles I think I talked about in the beginning. For me, is my faith. Like your faith, whatever that may be for you, and then also just the love and gratitude and being grateful for so many different things, no matter how small they are. There's so much love in just, being able to appreciate that you opened up your eyes that morning, that your body was
Mm.
able to move, that you got to say hello to a friend on the phone, that your phone rang, that your water is running if you have that in your home and you have food. So like just, self love is just not taking for granted those little things, and
Yeah.
understands that within self-love is success of just pushing forward, giving things the best effort, and even when they don't work out, knowing that it's not wrong, that you're still learning, and love all of those areas about yourself is what it
Yeah.
all comes back
Yes, I
to
think
at
that's
the end
so
of the day.
important. It's
Mm-hmm.
like the loving maybe the parts of yourself that you're not super
Mm-hmm.
proud of, like
Right.
accepting. Maybe one of my
Mm-hmm.
friends, she talks about radical acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you don't love that part, but you can still accept that that makes you who
Mm-hmm.
you are,
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
I love that. So to
Mm-hmm.
wrap it up, self-love to you said it's like gratitude and your
And
faith.
your faith. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gratitude and your faith. And then also, just finding success in the things that we don't maybe label as success because, we didn't
Yeah.
finish it or, the project wasn't completely done. But there's so many like minor things that are happening that are successful. And we don't give ourselves a chance to even see that part of it because it's not the
Yeah.
finished product, like kind
Yes.
of thing,
Yes, and I
kind of
definitely need
thing.
to be
Yeah.
better about that. Like
Yeah.
celebrating like small wins
Yes.
too. I'm so quick to
Mm-hmm.
like move on to the next
Yeah. Yep.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't even allow myself to fully
Yeah, the
feel.
little baby things that happens to
Yes.
help
Oh,
you get there. So, yeah, so
yes.
there's self-love and the baby steps, basically,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so, so much, Tara J, for being on the podcast with me
Absolutely. Thank you for
and
having
for,
me.
just doing this event. For those of you guys that don't know, she like had no idea what she was in for
No,
when she
no
first met up
idea.
with me. And she's just said yes to everything. She's been
Yes.
along for the ride and she's trusted me because, we're our energy, we're on the same
Yes.
wavelength. You
Yes.
felt my energy. So I really appreciate you for being on this journey with me as I'm
Yes.
learning to do all of this. So thank
Yes.
you
Thank
so much.
you. Thank you
And
for having
I'm so
me.
excited to put this event on with you.
Likewise, likewise.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Well, any final words for the people?
For the people, come June 6th, definitely don't miss that opportunity. And as I like to wrap up my classes, I like to say, until we meet again, my beautiful people, love, peace, and happiness.
Yes. Well, and as I like to say as I wrap up my episodes, you guys are all so loved and you're more than enough. And until next time,
See
bye.
ya.
Is your healing? Is your healing?